been through so many tests in my life, and no one has ever been able to show me, well, this is where the issue is and how we can solve it.
We have a real strong commitment to using technology to address inequality, bridge gaps.
My mission in makeup is to make sure women of color are no longer challenged.
We use automation and machine learning to engineer microbes, little single-cell creatures, to turn them into the chemical factories of the future, making novel molecules for industrial and health applications. Microbes exist in the real world. We'll modify them slightly to make more of the thing they make naturally, or maybe to make something new altogether. So it might be an adhesive that works inside the human body in a way that a glue that you might make conventionally can't. We can work to increase the effectiveness of crop protection agents, so herbicides, fungicides, those sorts of things. We can reduce the toxicity of agents that seem to work but actually cause other kinds of problems. What we're doing is we're searching the genome for the things that might work, and what machine learning does is it looks for patterns that a human wouldn't find. No, it for sure wouldn't have been possible 5, much less 10 years ago.
The idea of storing information in DNA has been around for several decades. It's just that we hit upon an idea that makes it economically attractive to do it. We, as a society, are generating so much data with 5G wireless networks, Internet of Things, high-definition video, and just social media. So by the year 2025, we're going to generate a lot more data and a lot more useful data than we'll have the capacity to store. And so we are in need of a new medium that can be much more efficient than the current solutions. What we want to do with a new medium like DNA is decrease the footprint, environmental footprint, the physical footprint of data storage tremendously. So nature has had to store all of the genetic information in these really tiny cells in the form of DNA. So that really pushed for the selection of information density. So that's the amount of bits you can store in the same volume. DNA is actually just a biopolymer, meaning it's just a chemical material that we're using. It happens to be the material that stores genetic information when it's inside of your body, but it doesn't have to come from a cell. It can be chemically synthesized, just as plastics would be made. When we're manipulating, it's a liquid. It's a liquid solution that you move around to assemble different pieces of DNA. And then for storage, we would dry that down so that it's a powder in any tube that you were storing it in. You can have it last for thousands of years.
So let's keep the theme going.
What I'm interested in is cognitive neuroprosthetics. Can I literally jam something in your brain and make you smarter? How much you can think about, pay attention to, kind of mentally operate on at any given moment, we've actually found that we can increase that by about 15%. What you'd find is the kids with the greater working memory span might earn as much as a whole grade higher in school, 15 to 30% greater income throughout their lifetimes. There are groups and labs out there that have been able to show, for example, that in that funny hat kind, the non-invasive technologies, they can increase people's honesty. They can modulate your preferences for experiences, taking a bland movie and suddenly making it something that you loved and you want to go back and see again. In a world of increasing technology, this is one possibility to keep us ever relevant. Is to find the best of who we are and combine it with the best of what we can build.
blockchain is in many respects one of the most important emerging technologies that businesses are paying attention to today. It is frequently cast as the next internet, right? And not because of the similarities to the technology itself, but to the potential for business and commerce and how we think about data exchanges globally.
So what we're doing is we're writing a piece of software that will leverage blockchain technology to make these records not able to be changed. So when somebody writes, "I'm Officer Bob, I picked this up off the ground on Tuesday," that will go somewhere where it can never be changed. And so you can't go back and rewrite that.
So for example, let's say I pay to you, and then you pay to Sam, and then Sam pays to Carol, and then Carol pays to Bob. That entire history of transactions gets saved on this ledger that we call the blockchain. And every node, so basically every computer in the world that decides to participate in hosting this blockchain, basically stores a copy of this ledger. And because there are countless of computers around the world that are helping this network, there's no single point of failure.
Imagine you have Twitter or a group chat or some other social network, and you have a bunch of people. Now say among that bunch of people you wanted to keep track of something, but for simplicity we'll call it like your group bucks. Instead of having a piece of paper or a coin that you actually trade around, what you do is you just know how much everyone else has. Okay, Sally has 2, Mindy has 5, and I have 5. And when you want to make a change, you just tell everyone else. So you say, "Hey everybody, I'm sending Bob $1." And everybody, okay, writes that down. And everyone keeps track of everyone else.
You see exactly where the funds go to, from what organization, like from what wallet to what wallet. So there's every scenario where, let's say you donate some money, and you don't know how the agency is actually using your money, then if you were to apply that to the blockchain, you could exactly see where your money is going.
So hopefully, we're going to start looking at more security aspects of how to secure that data, secure that money, secure that funding, secure that medical records, hopefully within the next couple of years.
It's public accountability. And that's basically what blockchain does. That's exactly how Bitcoin works. It's everybody keeping track of everybody else, except everyone's a computer.
Indianapolis, Indy is a terrific city. It's on the cusp of what we're seeing as being sort of a tech boom. There's a lot of companies that have moved in, Salesforce being one of them. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of hunger amongst those people that live in Indy, but also across the state to get into technological fields, to become developers and coders.
For Indianapolis proper to be successful, we have to have the world's best coders and engineers, and they have to have the right type of experience. And let me tell you, the big universities used to train for that. They don't train for it today.
We are really a great city. We have so much to offer that very often people don't know until they come here. We also have a lot of talent opportunities here. So many strong universities in the city of Indianapolis. And then right next door we have Purdue University, Indiana University, Rose-Hulman, Notre Dame, ISU. So the talent is very close as well as within the city. So it's really a great, energetic place.
The thing that I have come to appreciate about Kenzie Academy is the approach and the style is very Silicon Valley, but it's not, it's Midwest.
Kenzie Academy is really addressing a gap that we saw in Indy that is providing a different form of education that can put more senior developers into the market more quickly.
After I graduate Kenzie, I hope to take my skills and apply them in some type of healthcare discipline.
I learned about Kenzie and I really liked their idea, and the main thing which attracted is project-based learning, where you do live projects, you work on live projects and you get that experience.
We have really seen the role that technology has played in both accelerating certain communities and sort of decelerating other communities. And I think we have a real strong commitment to using technology to address inequality, using technology to bridge gaps. I think we've seen in the recent history of our country here that there is disparity, there is division, and really ultimately what Kenzie Academy is doing is trying to provide tech-forward education to communities that don't currently have access to it.
7 can come with me.
I want to know if there's something wrong in my brain. And I battled a lot of depression and anxiety growing up, so I want to see it. I was told I had a chemical imbalance. I was told a couple of different things. I'm kind of excited to see what it actually is.
SPECT is a functional scan. It tells you what areas of the brain work well and what areas are underactive, what areas might be working too hard. If you had a CT scan or an X-ray or an MRI, those are just snapshots. They're just like a quick picture of the anatomy, whether it be of the brain or the arm or the leg, and you have no good, clear idea of how that part of that imaging or how that part of the body is working. A CT scan of someone who's alive looks like the same CT scan if you do it on someone who's dead. So that's kind of a way to look at it, is the functional MRI or the functional SPECT scan tells you more about what is working well and what isn't.
My name is Wendy, and I will be doing your brain scans while you're here at the Amen Clinic. Today we're going to do the concentration scan.
I had a lot of issues that I was never properly diagnosed. I had seizures for a long time that randomly stopped when I came to the United States. So I want to know if there's something wrong in my brain. And I battled a lot of depression and anxiety growing up. So I want to see it. I was told I had a chemical imbalance. I was told a couple of different things. I'm kind of excited to see what it actually is.
We are one of the only fields that doesn't actually look at the organ that we're treating. Meaning if you were to go to a cardiologist, they're going to do an EKG or they're going to do an image of your heart. They're going to do an echo. And if you were to go to a surgeon, they're going to do an X-ray or a CAT scan. But a psychiatrist never actually, most traditional psychiatrists do not look at the brain.
Back there, they kind of put me. I've been through so many tests in my life, and no one has ever been able to show me, well, this is where the issue is and how we can solve it.
Some people who have depression have had a terrible brain injury that hasn't been diagnosed. Some people with depression have been exposed to toxins or chemicals that haven't been picked up yet. You can see this is what we're looking at on the outside of the brain. So this is just the cortex. You can see each picture is the same brain, just looking from different angles.
I mean, I'm kind of a little bit overwhelmed, but also kind of happy that kind of got validated that it wasn't all in my head, that the depression wasn't something I made up, and like as my siblings would like to think that I made up this whole, depression thing. So kind of validating it and also knowing that I wasn't the only person. So the fact that I have this route of going naturally is what very made me happy in a way, that I have other options versus her saying, well, your only option to survive is Zoloft, like how my doctor pretty much sold it to me when I was younger. That was pretty exciting, and knowing that my other parts of my brain are healthy. I think I was nervous seeing what else I could have, the bumps and the holes, but I didn't have any of that, so that was pretty interesting. And it's interesting how they do it.
The academic field still sees it as a kind of a research tool rather than a clinical tool.
You grab that, you can go ahead and get up. I didn't move or anything, right? No, you didn't. I've already checked.
Crazy.
Our company makes technology that makes fitness fun. I am the marketing associate at Blue Goji here in Austin, Texas. We have been making VR games that make you move, so what we call active VR. We have our Infinity treadmill that pairs with a VR headset.
It was pretty cool. I think I did exercise in 3 minutes. You have much more motivation to actually get running and do something. That pushes your limits a little bit. Not just for 20 minutes running in a boring treadmill. It's much more fun.
Okay, there's one, and then there's a second one back here.
So the belt keeps you centered as well as giving you that security. Since you're in VR, you can't see where your feet are going. So a lot of VR experiences cause motion sickness because there's a disconnect in the brain, just psychologically. You're moving in the game, but you're not moving in real life. And we have come up with a solution, Active VR. When you're moving on the treadmill and you're moving in the game, it mitigates that motion sickness, and you really get full immersion without all the negative side effects.
Pretty quickly you adjust to it. In the beginning, it's a different experience, and you don't know what to do. But, it takes 10 seconds to adjust.
It does take some getting used to.
It's funny, I don't get motion sickness easily, but I felt a little queasy at one point when I was out of control, so it's surprisingly realistic. All I could think of when I was doing it, if my wife was doing this, she would have been barfing all over because it's interesting how the brain works. It's like going downhill, I felt like I was on a roller coaster.
There's a bit of a learning curve for VR in general. I believe that the first time you do it is definitely going to be the most disorienting time, and then the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and there's a bit of a transition between going from the real world into the virtual world, and it just kind of takes a second for your brain to adjust to that. So the base price will be $12,000. That includes all of the hardware and all of the software. This is a prototype that we have here. It'll be ready officially early 2019, and we are in talks with high-end gyms, VR arcades, as well as rehabilitation centers and physical therapy centers.
It's a lot more fun than a regular treadmill.
Technology is like a very important tool. Like even very often it's also a very important part of inspiration.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Sierig. I'm from Germany. My name is Giko Beck, and I play in a band called Yoazino. Actually, we call it like a psychedelic robot orchestra. It's like a combination of acoustic instruments, but also like very trashy robot instruments. The center of the whole setup is a computer. Most of the stuff is controlled by the computer, and the computer can translate to voltage signals, so the robots are controlled by voltage that is controlled by the computer. We are two drummers, but in this setup we mostly play keyboards and synthesizers. It's a little bit different because you always have in mind that there are machines playing with you, so there's no reaction from them. We are a little bit free in doing our stuff then, so we want to combine just like this electronic stuff together with some free improvising setup.
Technology is like a very important tool. Like even very often it's also a very important part of inspiration. Technology that can help you to have ideas, and also the other way around. Like you have ideas and then you try to find technology. I think it's very connected in our music.
I am so fortunate to be a scientist because in order for you to have beauty, you need to have science. In order for beauty to exist, science is at the core of that. I grew up in a very interesting Haitian community. Coming from a Haitian family, it's you're either a doctor, a nurse, or something in the medical field. I started at L'Oreal in 1999. I started off as a chemist working on mascaras. a great opportunity to learn and to go even further into cosmetics. Historically, women of color have been challenged on finding foundation shades. My mission in makeup is to make sure that women are no longer challenged. So when we had the opportunity to embrace this challenge, we took it, I guess, by the horns and created a strategy to fix the problem. So in order for us to understand the colors that make up the skin, we had to use basically a camera. And this camera, instead of giving us an image, gives us numbers, and those numbers translates to the color in the skin. We had the opportunity to travel across the U.S. to different regions of the U.S., as well as internationally, such as South Africa, to gather skin tone measurements to make sure that the shades that we were creating were suitable for a large range of skin tones. I think one of the great aha moments that we had in taking these skin tone measurements and understanding the colors that make up the skin is that women don't necessarily go blacker. They tend to go deeper in color. So what we found is that you can use a really special colorant called ultramarine blue. And ultramarine blue is a truly clean, vivid, bright, rich color that allows you to go deeper. But as you go deeper, you're still able to have a very natural color to the skin. We really felt a sense of satisfaction. We felt complete in a sense because we knew that we had found something that would allow us to give this natural look that so many women were looking for. If I was stranded on a deserted island, I need lip gloss. I need for my lips to have a beautiful layer of protection and moisture. That is my go-to. If I have to have anything in the world, it's lip gloss. What makes me smile is knowing that I'm putting a smile onto someone else's face. When I get a sense of the women that I touch and hearing feedback from them and hearing how the work that we're doing impacts others in a positive way, it's what gets me up in the morning. It's what drives me. It's what I find to be the best thing of my day.